Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Safir Nur Salam, and in this video, I'm gonna do my presentation on chapter 5 and chapter 6. So, the chapter is comparing themes and images. The first one is misunderstanding themes. In any case, even the most straightforward piece of writing contains thematic traits, arguments, imaginary style, and situation. Thematic units, also known as topics, myth, less motif, symbol, image, mirage, or device accounts for works' coherence and connect it to other works. Recognizing such units is essential for any readings. They become relevant for comparative reading when we attempt to construct a more ambitious argument about their occurrence and function. Parody and subversion are useful, for example, for challenging an old-fashioned historical comparison assumption that influence is a matter of depth and foreign trade in literature. According to that assumption, the influential work is superior to the works produced as a result of its influence. Second one is national images. When people from different cultures or, for that matter, villages come into contact, they are prone to forming generalization or images of the foreign persona. Study of such images was proposed as a central task of comparative literature by the French comparatives Marlus Francois Guillard. Jo- Job Leerhsen has proposed researching the widespread, perhaps universal, structure of meaning constellation that from around the national character of neighboring exotic and rival peoples. The author country is always the normal, where the things are done correctly, other countries are excessive and preserved. Finally, such comparison no doubt the inspiration for the phrase in invidious comparisons returns us the comparer, we do not accept them as reliable information about the nation described. Number three, from similarity to difference. One subgenders of comparative literature seeks a recurring themes of images in works of various tradition. Thus, the theme of a journey to afterlife could be a common thread connecting works from various periods and cultures. Birds in world literature, the lover lament, the number three, and many topics could could lead to a long and fascinating list of examples. Purs- Pursuing similarity but using it as starting point for discovering what is different orients comparative project towards close reading will also, including through similarity, the necessary shift away from mere description and toward explanation. Number four is thematic systematization. Thematic thematic approaches to literature are frequently accused of being simplistic and superficial. If literature consists of a firm developing a content, then removing the content means breaking the form, which means abandoning the artwork integrity. Dissatisfaction with thematic reading reflects a concern for aspects of the work that cannot be categorized as content. The thematic material like clay is not simply the stuff of which literature is made, but commands attention, shapes the imagined world into a world made of these possibilities, and implies structure and sequence. The operation of thematization on dormant meanings, language, society, and culture is thus performed by author as well as readers. The astute reader notices patterns of association or exclusion, works an active role in generating new meanings. With this goal in mind, thematic reading cannot be dismissed as merely positivistic. On the chapter 6, comparative literature and translation. First one is the invisibility of translation. If the goal of translating is to obliterate itself, to make the word being translated appear as for the first time in the language of translation, then forgetting them honors and acknowledges the translator's success at the expense of losing the actual history of the circulation of works and ideas. Making translation feasible comes at a price. The reader can no longer ignore the fact that he or she is reading the mediated, second-hand text and may be led to doubt the accuracy of the rendition of translator's competence, or to do so more compassionately than the reader of a smooth translation, where the persuasive authority of the writing sweeps such doubts aside. Number two is transduction. The best indicator of a work influence is transduction. Work with a long enough history, say the Homeric epics, can stimulate many distinct epochs of reprocessing that the different mode of letter reception that was potentially contained in the ancient epics would be a half-truth. The potential had to be activated by times, language, cultures, and way of thinking that Homer's contemporaries would never have imagined. Translating is always an act of literary comparison, choosing words and sentence pattern, a tone, a genre, or anything else in analogy between two fields of cultures and meaning. It is bound to fail in some ways, as any analogy between words of analogy is what is succeeds in suggesting. Number three is untranslatable. Untranslatable. The term untranslatable can mean a variety of things, sometimes with hidden meanings. When someone says a word from another language that cannot be translated into English, one can always ask why and get a description of the nuances, specifics, and implications that the word carries in its native tongue. The description is thus a translation or at least a paraphrase implying that translation was possible to some extent. The fiction of the untranslatable does not refer to what cannot be translated, but rather conceals a distinction between what has not been translated or yet or successfully and what is not being translated, a distinction that is at least empirically studied above. When foreign words appear in the text, they have converted into macaronic combination and multiple. The macaronic writer's act is not one of translation, but of transcription, inscription, or imposition, which is similar to coining a new word. I think that's all about my presentation, and thank you.